Now, speaking to Hezbollah's television network today, Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, did not sound like a man ready to give up. He made it clear he isn't even stepping down and even suggested that he'd run for president next year. And it seems a quick end to the civil war is not on the cards. Let's go to Robin right now. She is a Middle East analyst for the Woodrow Wilson Centre, and she joins us live via Skype from Washington. Robin, thanks very much for joining us. One of the things that Bashar al-Assad also said, that the Syrian regime now held the balance of power militarily in Syria. What is your assessment of that statement, given that there does seem to be an influx of Hezbollah fighters and also Iranian fighters fighting for the regime? Do they hold the balance of power?
Well, they're clearly doing better than they may have been doing a few weeks ago. The influx of foreign forces, the pledge by Russia to provide new defense capabilities means that Syria is likely to see a protracted war. This is not something that's going to end anytime soon. Earlier in the year, the rebels were doing far better, held more territory, and seemed to have the momentum on their side. At the moment, the regime does. That will go back and forth. The tragedy of this is that the inflow of weapons just means more people are going to be killed, and there doesn't seem to be a military outcome likely on either side anytime soon.
The momentum on the regime's side, the president obviously looking quite relaxed and confident, talking about offering himself a re-election next year. This does not bode well for any resolution in peace talks, even if we can get to peace talks, because the Russians, the US and the UN meet next week to lay the groundwork. What are your expectations on any breakthroughs here?
Well, this is an important moment because both the United States and Russia have agreed that diplomacy is necessary, and they haven't been able to agree on that even for a long time. So that's the beginning step. The problem is that you get to the level of the Syrians. The regime has said it is a delegation ready to go, but the Syrian opposition has been divided on who to send and even how to form an opposition government, a shadow government in effect. And these divisions within the Syrian opposition have been a serious hindrance, both in getting their own agenda organized, in creating a unity among both the military and political forces, and in getting greater outside support. So this is a real obstacle. And if they can't even agree on that, it's hard to see how the two different sides, when the Syrian government and the Syrian opposition get together, can come to some kind of formal agreement. There's likely to be squabbling among the Syrian opposition again about what terms do you accept? Do you allow Assad to stay in power, or does he have to step down? This has been a core difference within the opposition for the past 2 years, and this continues to be a problem.
If you look at the US's position on this, about certainly they're not prepared at this stage to arm the rebels, but look at recent developments. You've got this infiltration of soldiers now coming in from Lebanon, Hezbollah, from Iran backing the regime. The Russians now sending sophisticated weaponry. The EU lifting its own arms embargo on the rebels. Isn't all this painting the US into an ever tighter corner where they are going to have to do something?
Well, the political momentum in Washington is clearly putting pressure on the Obama administration to do more and to consider whether it's a no-fly zone or providing some kind of weaponry or allowing allies to provide weaponry to the opposition. But I think the American public is still very skeptical about whether it wants to get engaged in Syria because of the dangers that this is not a short-term commitment that we could get drawn in for a protracted involvement. So I think that the White House is probably weighing the pressures from the Hill, from the Republicans, against what American public opinion polls indicate. But one of the most important things about this moment is that we're seeing, with the Europeans agreeing that they're going to lift this ban on weaponry, that the Russians providing new weaponry, that this is no longer a war just involving the Syrians. This is very much becoming a proxy war with Iran, Hezbollah, the outside world thinking about greater engagement, involvement, that the stakes are getting bigger, the involvement getting bigger. This is like the old Cold War days where you had a country that represented the rival trends in the region, in the world, and we're seeing the Europeans in the United States on one side, the Russians, the Iranians, and the Chinese on the other.
Yeah, not just regional now, as you say. It's sort of it's affecting major players across the globe. Robin, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us. Robin Wright with the Woodrow Wilson Centre, joining us from Washington.